Hey guys, my name is Ryan Central and welcome to my YouTube channel. To immediately address the elephant in the room, for those that don't know, I am one of the people behind Overwatch Central. We make daily Overwatch content there, news, guides, that kind of thing, and I do that with my friend Miska. Whilst I still do that, it's still my full-time job and I enjoy it very much. We only make Overwatch content there, and I am really excited for Anthem and a lot of other games, so I kind of want to be able to make content here, just in the games that interest me, and Anthem is definitely one of them. There's a lot of concerns and worries about the game in terms of how close the cards are to their chest. We don't know an awful lot about the game, and we haven't seen a lot of gameplay either, just 5 months out of launch. But today I want to take a look at the Javelins, which work as the classes within Anthem, and we'll start with the Colossus, seeing as we have the most information on them. We're going to be looking at the weapons that they have, the abilities, the role that they play on the team, and some other interesting tidbits that can reveal to us how loadouts in Anthem work, and the kinds of playstyles that you can have on a Colossus Javelin. Before we get started, do let us know in the comments below if there are any particular classes and Javelins that you want to get your hands on. I know a lot of people are excited for Interceptors and Storm. We have the least information on those two, so I am curious to know, for those that are interested in Anthem, what are you hoping to play? To take two very quick sentences from the EA article describing what the Colossus Javelin's job is, they say that it's a hulking war machine designed to clear out entire hives of vicious predatory fauna with mounted artillery, heavy arms, or even, yes, a flamethrower. It's got stuff like armor plating, jet propulsion, a cannon, but maybe not a cup holder. They then go on to say, with its focus on damage mitigation and explosive power, the Colossus is a favourite among freelancers who prefer a brute force solution to their problems. It boils down to them being the heavy class of Anthem. Most games like this have it, most RPGs have a big burly class, either there to block damage, take the main brunt of enemy fire so that your team doesn't have to, but also been fairly slow, clunky, but having a metric ton of damage that they can dish out. So now we have a general idea on what this class can do. Now let's look at the abilities. Before we do that though, there is one thing that the developer commentary from E3 highlighted when it comes to how abilities work within Anthem that honestly I don't think a lot of people know about. Just listen to this real quick.
By now you've probably noticed that our squad has some pretty awesome abilities. In particular, the Colossus has a legendary multi-mortar, and the Ranger has a legendary frost grenade. Loot comes in many different rarities, and legendary items are very hard to come by. If you get your hands on one, they have special bonuses that make you more powerful. And I have a feeling our squad's gonna need all the power they can get for what lies ahead.
So abilities are picked up like gear and weapons in this game. You pick them from missions, rewards for quests I suppose. You can get different rarities of abilities. For example, that multi-mortar that we saw is legendary, the best of the best. We'll be talking about loadouts and different styles of play further on into the video, but first I want to go over the weapons and abilities that we saw from these bits of gameplay. The gameplay comes from E3, a 20-minute gameplay demo of a Stronghold mission, which are instances, dungeon runs, strikes if you play Destiny. Those grouped up missions, you are in a group of 4, you work your way through a dungeon, find the mission, no doubt kill a boss at the end of it, and get some pretty awesome loot once you've done that. The 20-minute gameplay was from the perspective of a Colossus, which was good, but what is even better is that there is another Colossus in this group that has a very different loadout and very different abilities. We do see their perspective a couple of times in other gameplay trailers, but honestly about 10 seconds in total. We will call him Colossus A, which is this Colossus, and we'll call the other one Colossus B. We'll start with the weapons with Colossus A first. The main weapon that he has is the light machine gun. It's your very generic, vanilla, run-of-the-mill weapon that a Colossus is no doubt likely to have. It has a ton of ammo, does a ton of damage, but obviously slows you down as you're using it. You get a good idea on how it works on screen. I don't really need to explain it any more than that, I feel. The second weapon that this Colossus has is the grenade launcher. We see this a little bit, but not too much, as you're seeing the ammo on the right-hand side. There isn't an awful lot for the grenade launcher in comparison to the light machine gun, which is fair enough really. It's no doubt there to act as a secondary weapon with the light machine gun being your primary, but again, doesn't really need any more explaining than that. For Colossus B, they also have a light machine gun, so we won't go over that again, but the other weapon that they have, I don't actually know what it is, to be honest. We don't really get it seen used from their perspective, or from the perspective of Colossus A, so we only really have this image. It could be a rocket launcher, it could be a shotgun. Considering I didn't see any rockets fired off, I'm leaning more towards the latter than the former. but it is a different weapon to the LMG and the grenade launcher, so there are 3 weapons that we've seen in total, one of which we don't really know what it is. Do let us know in the comments below if you have any idea, because I'm not really sure myself. Now we go over the exciting bit, the abilities. We'll start with Colossus A again, and we'll start with the multi-mortar that we've already spoken about. This is a good weapon in its own right, but also amazing for the combo shots that we saw with the frost grenade and other abilities. It does look like combos are going to play a big part in Anthem, so the multi-mortar is always going to be a good ability to have. The second ability that this Colossus has is the railgun, a nice quick charged up shot that is on a relatively low cooldown. The cooldown on the railgun is about 12 seconds, but for the multi-mortar it's about 22. So you have the railgun quite often, really good for ambushing targets, very good for its best potential. Moving on to Colossus B, the ability that we do know about is the flamethrower. We saw a little bit of this from their perspective, but also from Colossus A's perspective too. It looks like it lasts a long time, not sure how long the duration or the cooldown is. It might be like a resource that as you use it, it goes down, but you can completely deplete it and you have to wait for it to charge up again. Maybe that's how it works, that's at least how it looks. And also the other ability that they have is a single shot mortar. We don't see this get used from their perspective, but we do see a fiery shot being thrown out from Colossus A's viewpoint that looks like it could be ability. Now this could be the other weapon that we don't know about, but it does look more like an ability than a weapon charge, so I'm leaning for it to be towards that. And of course you have the ultimate, each Javelin has a different ability, and for the Colossus they have the Siege Cannon. To take what I said on the EA website about it, the Siege Cannon is pure mayhem unleashed on the battlefield. Just aim it at something you want to disappear, pull the trigger and watch the magic act, and I can kind of understand why they've said that now. Much like the games Overwatch and Destiny, by the passing of time or dealing damage, your ultimate meter fills up. Once it's full, you can use that ability and it's very strong, as they are one of the main factors for each class. Not only that, you have the generic abilities that most Javelins have, which is the melee and the ground slam, but also the Colossus has a big shield that they can use to protect damage, obviously, but also clear out mines that were left on the floor. We got a good example on how that shield was used. So you have 2 Colossi in this gameplay with very different loadouts and playstyles. The interesting pattern for Colossus B is they are all focused around fire damage. They obviously have the flamethrower, I mean, of course that's fire damage, but it also looks like the single shot mortar does some fire damage itself too, as we're seeing on screen. Now this could be how the weapon naturally works, but there also could be talents and traits designed around this ability that can make it do a little extra fire damage. Now traits and talents is something about the game that we do know about, but we don't know specifically what they are. But there are going to be different builds for both these Colossus. For example, it looks like Colossus A is more about damage dealing. You have that legendary multi-mortar and a railgun, so obviously the amount of damage that this Colossus can dish out is a lot. And if you're in a group with another Colossus that's all about close range fighting with the flamethrower, then you have a bit more room to breathe with dealing damage instead of mitigating it. That brings us on nicely to a trait that we know about, which is that the Colossus has a trait that can generate more threat. For those that play World of Warcraft or any form of MMORPG, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those that don't know, threat is a measure of the enemy's aggression towards you and the rest of your team. If you have the highest amount of threat, the enemies will be all attacking you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you're playing a class that is designed to take a lot of damage and still survive. Just so happens that Colossus is exactly that. As a big burly Colossus with a lot of reinforced armor and damage mitigating abilities, you can take that damage and survive, unlike your Storm or your Interceptor that's on your team. They might die instantly if the enemy decides to focus them, especially when it comes to bosses. Now one thing that this might be just a pure coincidence that I did notice is that in this Swarm Tyrant boss fight, the main focus of the boss is on Colossus B, so maybe they have that trait that generates more threat, which means that the Swarm Tyrant is more likely to attack that Colossus than say Colossus A, or the Storm in your group, or the Ranger. So this could be a potential loadout that this Colossus is running, all about close quarters combat, all about damage mitigation, all about making sure that the enemy team is attacking them, so it's not attacking the DPS characters in your lineup. That's pure speculation. I didn't really want to talk about that in today's video. I wanted to go over the things that we actually know and have actually seen. Whilst there isn't much, it does give us a good idea on the different kinds of playstyles that this Colossus can have. You have the amount of damage that they can do from Colossus A, but also the more up close and personal tanky playstyle from Colossus B with the flamethrower. That's all I want to go over today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Do like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below whether you enjoyed it. I'll be sure to make more as we get closer to the launch of Anthem. But thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.